Hi everyone, welcome to my mini course on the 3 magic words of faith-based eating. I have to confess right from the start, this one has been kind of special for me. I've recorded it several times. I've tried, made recordings, and I was like, no, it's not quite right. And then I try again, not quite right. This one's been a labor of love to kind of explore how deep this class needs to go. And I've settled on a place that has really changed my heart. So I hope this helps. I hope this is a blessing to you. In my faith-based eating class, I go over what it looks like to move away from the diet culture, all those screaming voices, and move to a more faith-based approach, more intuitive approach where we're very spirit-led. And I talk in that class about letting the Lord lead and letting Him empower our efforts when it comes to shifting our health and the way we eat and the way we approach food. So you don't need to have watched that class. This one should be a standalone on its own, but I still want that same umbrella to be kind of in place over everything we talk about in this class, meaning the umbrella of making this a spiritual journey, not just a physical one. So often when it comes to food, dieting, what do I eat, getting answers, it's been an internet search or a book or an expert or willpower driven. That's what we're backing away from. We're actually making this a spirit-led journey where the Lord is coming into this with us, holding our hand, helping us to find a place of freedom with food. So as we talk about the 3 magic words, I want you to keep that umbrella in place and remember that and I'll talk about it a lot, I'm sure. This is a journey where we want the Lord to come along. So the 3 words that I've chosen kind of for me form a foundational, just kind of the anchors. We are all so different. Our body chemistries, our desires, our lifestyles, our likes, dislikes. So to lay out, here's the three magic words. This is exactly how you eat, or these are the food. That's not what I'm doing in this course. I want it to be individualized, but I believe that these 3 words can kind of give us a foundational place to start, and it's anchored for me in gospel principles, not just nutritional principles, but gospel principles. And you'll see what I mean as we go along. So the 3 I've chosen is what, how, and when, and you'll kind of see how that fits in as we go along. The first one is probably the one I've grappled with the most as I've really tried to come up with how I want this course to be structured. Because that's also the question I get one of the most often in my coaching is, well, what do I eat? Okay, if I don't go to the diet culture, if I'm not stuck in calories and macros and counting and obsessing about dieting, well then what do I eat? What kind of structure? What do I do? And I think the way that I'm finding best to answer that, the way that has worked best for me and best for many, many people I've worked with, is to understand the principle that the Lord created our bodies to need certain nutrients. It runs best on certain nutrients to get all the processes in our bodies working, our digestive system, our endocrine system, our brain function, our heart function. Everything works well based on the building blocks that we put into it through our mouth. And so it's like saying a car is built to run on gas. You can't say, okay, you can pretty much use any liquid. You could put water in there, you could put soda in there, you could put alcohol in there, it would run. It's close enough, right? It's a liquid. No, cars were made to run on gas, and we wouldn't put water in our gas tank and then think, why isn't my car working? I don't understand. And then our health system medicates the symptoms. Then we need to be on all these meds because our car isn't working right, where the truth is we haven't put in the right gas to begin with. And if we would shift that in the beginning, put the right gas in the car, put the right building blocks in our bodies through the nutrients that we're taking in, our body's going to function. I mean, not perfectly. We're in a mortal fallen world, but it's going to function in a better capacity than perhaps we've been experiencing. That was definitely the thing that blew me away. And it wasn't just in my own personal life that my body began functioning better physically when I shifted my diet. What blew my mind the most was my emotions changed. My mental processes changed. The spiritual brightness that came into my life. All of this just by changing my food. And so I began to understand that what I put in my body doesn't just have an effect on the size of my jeans. What I put into my body affects the whole system, from my brain, my spirituality, my mental capacity, my emotional state. It's going to affect it. So food in the state generally that God created it is going to have those nutrients in place, as compared to like Wonder Bread, which is made of white flour, which has been stripped of all the nutrients that were originally in that wheat. And it's like putting water in your gas tank. So going off of that foundational principle, it may look very, very different for all. It will look very different for all of us. I have my structure is I've had to pull away from sugar and processed food. My body is radically different when I avoid that. It's kind of, I heard the analogy once that it's like asking someone to build you a house, and then you drive up with a truck full, instead of lumber that they can frame the house, you drive up with a truck full of sawdust and ask them to build that house. That's processed food in my mind. You cannot get that sawdust. You can't kind of get it to mold together and hold the way you can lumber for that house. The house will not stand if it's created out, it can't even be created out of sawdust. So when I put a lot of sugar and processed food, Western foods, not in their whole state in my body, those nutrients have been stripped. A lot of food on the shelves masquerades as food, but it's not food the way God intended our bodies to be fed. Now, there's a lot of nutritional, there's a new soapbox kind of every few years. Like it used to be, don't eat eggs, don't eat fat, don't eat butter. Now it's shifting to don't eat dairy, don't eat gluten. I'm not dogmatic on any of those. I do know that my body functions better off sugar, and so I kind of feel like most of us would fit in that realm. But that may not be your truth. You may do fine on dairy. My daughter experimented a million different times. Dairy wrecks her. That's just something for her own system that she has to avoid. When it comes to gluten, I've found certain wheat products work better with my digestive system and some don't. I have friends that, this is an interesting one, they were eating a lot of raw salads and fruit, which of course, fruit and vegetables, that's like the number one rule, right? Of what do I eat? Fruit and vegetables. And they were doing that. But they found, as they were more prayerful about what they ate, that they needed food in a more cooked state than raw. The raw was too harsh on their digestive system. And these friends both said to me, radical difference once I kind of shifted to softer cooked foods rather than the raw. So see how this can really take the form that works best for you. So the what do I eat? I like to kind of use a scripture, and maybe we'll use this verse to kind of go through all three of the magic words. I think it's just a beautiful way to, again, build our umbrella. It's in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31, where Paul says, whether therefore ye eat or drink, or whatsoever you do all to the glory of God. So I'm shifting when I approach, when I'm approaching what I'm eating, I'm shifting to whatever I put in my mouth, I'm doing it to the glory of God. I'm taking care of this temple that he's given me. I'm giving it the food that it needs to function a way that I can be fully effective in this life and accomplish my purpose and be not be hampered by all the physical effects and all the meds and all the side effects. I'm trying to honor this gift. And again, I'm doing this in a way that is spirit-led and that is allowing his grace to empower me to make these choices. A lot of us know kind of in general how to eat. We kind of know, we know what we do better. I've had someone tell me the other day, like, oh yeah, I totally feel better when I don't eat sugar, but I don't know why, I just don't. So that's where his grace comes in. That's where that enabling power that comes from him to help us rise up above the flesh and eat in a way that honors our body. So take your own journey, spirit-led way. You may be led to programs or experts, or I'm not saying all those outward things are bad. I have been definitely blessed by many, many mentors that gave me the truth that was right for my body. I've put them under my favorites page in my website. But that doesn't mean that all my mentors should be all your mentors. Like, he will lead you in a path. There's so many foods. He'll lead you to where a place that you can settle for the food that works right for your body chemistry, your system, your digestive issues. It may be organic. It may be meatless. It may be, it may look a lot of different ways. But I love that this can again move from all the rules that are being shouted at us to a place of where we let the Lord help us to shift and to find what works best for us. So I know a lot of people sit in my office and say, wait, you need to give me all the answers. You need to give me a list. How can I? How can I? This is a personal journey. So the what you eat is something that between you and the Lord, and maybe some promptings of others to look to that can give you the counsel you need. That's how we get started. Okay, second one. How? How do I eat? Man, I've gone back and forth on this one too. I talked a lot in my faith-based eating class about intuitive eating, about moving back to a place, and a lot of us are in this state, I know, where we eat mindlessly. We don't listen to our body. We don't assess if we're full or if we're even hungry. We eat by the clock. We eat because we're bored. We eat because we're stressed. How, for me, is moving back to a place where I'm honoring my body's ability to tell me what it needs. Now, again, when I was in a sugar addicted state, I couldn't really do that because my body was screaming for sugar. So I couldn't honor my body's cravings because those cravings need to be healed. My body was craving an addiction. But as I've come to a place of stability, I'm learning that even once I move to healthier foods, I could still binge on them. I could still eat way past the point of fullness. So the how for me starts one place, and this may sound odd. It's bringing the Lord into our moments with food, especially for those of us where this has been very, very complicated and full of baggage and full of shame. Some of us with food, it's just been a tough road. And so as we approach that territory, we've got to have his help. We've got to have his help. So I'm beginning to think that one of the most powerful practices that we can do in the terms of how do I eat, I mean, I know when I eat past the point of fullness, I just do it anyway. So how am I going to stop that freight train, come back to a place where I'm using food as fuel for my body, not emotionally, not stress eating. We bring him into that moment in terms of maybe it's going to look like praying every single time you eat. That, for me, especially on really tough days, has been a powerful, powerful practice. Now, a lot of us in our different denominations have kind of a set prayer on the food. I know in my own denomination, there's kind of a prayer that you walk in any home, family, friends, they're kind of saying the same prayer on the food, the same rote. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a moment before you walk in the kitchen, because you know it's a danger zone, you know it's tough, and you know you can lose control, and you know you've failed a million times. You walk in the kitchen and offer a prayer for just a short minute of, please help me to honor my body, help me to listen to its fullness, help me to know what best will feed the needs of my body right now, help me to navigate this tough territory with grace, help me to see things in a new way, to shift my view of food in a new. Do you see how that prayer, instead of that just rote prayer, it can open up to a beautiful petition that he be in those moments with us so we can eat in a mindful way. We are honoring, we're grateful for the food he's given. We are offering that gratitude back to him in a way that we're not just stuffing cheese puffs in our mouth. We're taking a breath as we walk in the kitchen and asking for the ability to eat in a way, the how, that honors this gift, this temple that he's given us. Just that one practice alone, that's how I begin to eat and drink to the glory of God, like Paul said, where the food choices that I'm making through that empowering grace that I can feel coming and strengthening me, I can do it in a grateful way that I'm not mindlessly, emotionally just, I've spent so many years doing that, just grabbing the cookie jar or grabbing the ice cream and I've eaten half the carton before I even think about it. That's what we're asking for the grace to do, is to eat in a way, once we've got the what down of what we should eat, to ask for his help, how to make that work, how to walk into that kitchen and have the strength that we need to move into this new place of peace. I think it's a beautiful shift. I had a person that I was coaching the other day. It was funny, we were talking about this, about asking for, and this person was very heavily involved in the church life, the religious life, but had never brought the Lord into the food arena, had never asked for his help with any of that, just kind of kept that separate. And she was kind of squirming, like, does he even care about that? Like, can I really pray about? Yes, yes, yes. He is our deliverer. He is our redeemer. He is interested in every single aspect of our lives, especially one as important as this, because the food you put into your body will hamper your ability to fully live out your life as a disciple. If you put the wrong food in your body, again, I was stuck in a place of depression, irritability, mood swings, restlessness, anger. I just was in a very dark emotional place. My physical body wasn't working. My digestion wasn't working right. And I was so caught up in dealing with all of that I had very little left to give him. So yes, he's concerned with helping you manage this appetite, helping you calm down the emotional drive to eat, and honoring your body by listening to the built-in process that's supposed to tell you when you're hungry and when you're full. So that's an exploration. Please know I have pinned a ton of stuff on emotional eating, on intuitive eating, on Pinterest. I talk about all of this in my other classes in greater depth. So if you want to explore that, check those out. You can really take a deep dive into this, but it's a good place to start. It's a good foundational, whatever you eat and drink, eat to the glory of God. How you do it, what you eat, it's all under that umbrella of making this a spiritual journey and not just a physical one. Now, the last one, the last magic word is when. And I will tell you, I've been at this for probably 15, 20 years. I've been dabbling in nutrition and my own journey and tweaking and making changes with his help. This one didn't really settle on me until the last couple of years. It's kind of like the Lord knew what I could handle one step at a time, and we've kind of like slowly peeled off those onion layers, and maybe I was just finally ready to get to this one. I don't know. I'm gonna lay it out there. I have always come from the mentality of, as I've read the nutritional wisdom over the years, it had shifted to a place where we said, okay, instead of 3 big meals a day, just graze all day, 5 or 6 small meals to keep your metabolism going. And I've heard that, read that so many times. I was even using that as a health coach, and believed it and really followed that. And then I found a book. Let me rephrase that. Led to a book. I have no doubt that this was brought to me through his influence. It's called The Obesity Code. It's by Dr. Jason Fung. The idea behind it, he works with diabetics in a clinic in Canada. And he began to turn all the science that I just talked about on its head, completely upside down, and talked about how every time you eat, you release insulin. Not just when you eat sugar and carbs, when you eat protein, whatever it is, insulin is released to help process that food. And so now in our culture, we wake up, we eat breakfast, and then we eat a snack, and then we eat lunch, and then we'll eat more food. We'll wander in the kitchen later or bring a snack to work and graze more in the afternoon, and then we'll eat dinner, and then we'll eat in front of the TV at night. Like we're eating. We bring snacks with us in the car. We bring them to church. So we're eating all throughout the day. And again, that's kind of where our culture has been pushing us. But Dr. Fung's premise was you release insulin that many times a day. Insulin. And insulin is the fat storing hormone. So of course we're going to have issues with obesity, diabetes, all of this, but also it's going to cause insulin resistance because that system is just overfiring. And so he began to introduce the science of fasting, of sometimes just giving the body a break, stop eating, give it a break. And he began talking about all the benefits that come when the body is in that fasted state. And I had never read science like that before. Heart health, brain health, metabolism changes, human growth hormone goes through the roof in a fasted state, which is your fat burning hormone. I mean, on and on and on. You can Google about his work and find all kinds of stuff out there. I won't go into all of that, but I'm not necessarily saying go read his book. Although I will say he's also come out with a new one, Life in the Fasting Lane, that I think is fantastic. I like it almost better than the other one in terms of explaining kind of this new paradigm shift. But that's not so much where I want to go because again, we're all different. And so we may incorporate these truths in a different way. But what I want to hit on with the magic word when is maybe shifting to a point where instead of eating, we slow it down and give our body a rest at times. He calls it through fasting. You can call it whatever you want, where we stop and we let the digestive system rest. We let the kidneys, the liver, all those systems, instead of just shoving more and more. I mean, I was doing that even though I was eating healthy food. Once I shifted, I was really doing it before when I was a sugar girl. But then I shifted my diet, but I was still eating all day, grazing. And it just dawned on me as I started to think about the idea of fasting. Again, we know this is a gospel principle. We know this is something that's existed throughout time in different cultures, different religions. I mean, the Lord built fasting into his gospel for generations. My own denomination fasts once a month from food and water. And so this wasn't a new concept to me. But I had never thought of the idea that the Lord would have instituted a practice of fasting to be married into our lifestyle, not just for spiritual benefits, although there are a million spiritual benefits, but also to bless the body, to give the body a break, a rest. It was kind of a new idea to me. Like physically, I need it just as much as spiritually. I need to at times fast. I thought of that pattern and how often it's manifested in other ways in our world. For instance, I was thinking about this weird little section in Exodus where the Lord tells the Israelites, with your fields and your crops and your vineyards, harvest and plant for 6 years, and then on the 7th year, let that field rest. Let that soil just have a rest. Don't plant it. Let that field have a break from the harvesting, and then you can go back to it. Or our weekly institution of the Sabbath. How work all during the week, but on that 7th day, man is to rest. Man needs a break. You need to take a break from your labor and let your body rest. Or even built into our 24/7, 24-hour day, we aren't going all day. We're not just the body needs a period of rest, be it however long, 6-8 hours, best case scenario. I know not everybody can do that, but there is a built-in system of rest all throughout nature, all throughout the earth in different ways. Why wouldn't the body also need a Sabbath from food all the time? We never ever, we just snack and graze and we're always reaching for something, and that digestive system cannot always handle that continual onslaught. The body needs some fasting, needs some Sabbath time to recover. And again, that's what surprised me the most about Dr. Fung's book, is he talked about what the body does when it has a break from digestion and processing food and releasing insulin and storing what you've eaten and doing all that. When it has a break from that and it's in a fasted state for, say, 12 hours, we've stopped eating at 6 at night. So by 6 the next morning, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, we're in an amazing state where our body's working on cellular repair. Its hormones are shifting, metabolism is shifting. It's able to do all these cool things that it can't do when it's busy digesting food. So this for me was huge. Like I said, I had believed the opposite for so many years, that you should just eat all day and it was good for your metabolism. And that, in terms of a principle that had a gospel application, that was huge for me. Now, the more I've looked into this, I've seen some beautiful ways to apply this concept. It goes right with everything we talked about, in that we're all different. This idea isn't going to look the same in each of our lives. You can look up the concept of intermittent fasting, which is what Dr. Fung teaches. There's lots of different ways to do it. You could explore that. But I've also kind of started to look at other ways to fast that aren't just no food, no water, or not eating anything. That was always kind of what I thought fasting was. But one of my favorite books, I'm kind of working through this right now. I just love this book. It's by Wendy Speak, and it's a spiritual journey. It's the 40-day sugar fast. But it's focused on looking away from food and looking to Christ, turning from that comfort for a greater comfort. But she calls it a fast. So again, we're eating every day. We're just fasting from sugar because it's been a trigger. It's been something that has become bigger in our life than God. And so we're turning from that, and she does it with a whole online support. The women are doing it every year. I just thought, yes, that is a way to incorporate that might really work for some of us. In fact, I noticed that when I am trying to abstain from something, sometimes I talk myself out of it. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. But when I look at it as a fast, as a way to honor my body through fasting, abstain from sugar, or whatever you decide that looks like in your life, it changes the motivation. And when I'm doing it for the Lord, it gives kind of a spin to it that changed it, that made me take it more serious. There's also another wonderful book. It's called Full. I will never get the author's name right. I think her first name is Asherita, but I'll not. Just look for this book on Amazon if you want to try it. Full, Food, Jesus, and the Battle for Satisfaction. But she does a wonderful whole entire chapter on fasting and what that looks like in terms of a turning from the food that has been so such a big attachment for us, so complicated. We are fasting in one way or another in order to partake of the true food, the true source of satisfaction, to turn ourselves to the Lord. Do you see how fasting can look very different? Maybe your fasting efforts would be stopping eating after 8 at night, to just let your body rest, to honor the needs of this temple that your spirit is housed in, and to let it rest, to let it recover from the food that you've given it that day. It may be sugar, it may be dairy, if dairy really upsets you and you know it. Maybe it's soda. It doesn't necessarily have to be a full food fast, although those, Dr. Fung talks a lot about block fasts and different ways to do it, so you can explore that. One of my other favorite ideas was something called the Daniel fast. And that is a plan. You can find it on my website under my favorites page, or just Google Daniel fast. It's based off of Daniel chapter 1 in the Bible, which is a story we miss, and it is so important for the lessons we learn in terms of a gospel approach to food. Daniel and his friends have been taken captive from Jerusalem. They've been brought into Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom, and he's trying to fatten them up, get them healthy and strong to be servants, or to be leaders in his kingdom. And so he's given him this rich diet, the wine and the meat and the rich food in the castle. And so Daniel goes to his superior and says, please let me abstain from that rich food. I'm not comfortable eating it. It's not going to be what's best for my body. Please, I don't want to partake. And his leader said, no, I'm going to get in trouble because you're not going to be as healthy as everybody else. And so Daniel says, no, test me for 10 days. And he and his friends, they said, just give us pulse and water in the King James, which is just interpreted, not just vegetables, but anything grown from the ground. So food the way God created it, basic, good, whole food, and water, and see. And after 10 days, they said, the King James, I love how it's translated. It says that they were fairer and fatter in flesh than anyone in the kingdom. But it also says something else. It also says they had spiritual blessings beyond any in the realm. They had wisdom and insight. And Daniel understood. See, he didn't do a full food fast, but he fasted from the rich, heavy, inflammatory food that he knew was not going to sit right on his system and not make his body function in the way that it was created to function. And he knew that introducing that kind of food was going to cause blocks and issues for him. And so he fasted from the king's rich food. One translation even said from the dainties of the king. And I just thought, oh, how many dainties have I eaten over the years? And I am in a state now where I'm fasting from that. And I have noticed not just physical blessings like Daniel experienced, but I also have noticed spiritual, emotional, mental, a vibrant light that is in me now that was not there before, as I was feeding my body the wrong things that weren't working for me. So to follow Daniel's example, there's a wonderful program called the Daniel Fast where you can go from 10 to 21 days and just take out all that inflammatory stuff, give the body a detox, a rest, a cleansing time. To me, that's a principle that's grounded in scripture, not just nutritional principles, but scriptural principles straight out of the Bible. The body really does need a rest, just like everything else in this world. And so our digestive system needs it as well. And so I've been playing with that in a very spirit-led way. I have to be careful because I could swing back to old patterns where it becomes like starvation. I'm starving myself. I'm not on a starving myself diet when I fast. I've got to really do it in a prayerful way so I can honor the needs of my body and not get sucked into that old, ooh, if you fast even more, you lose more weight. I'm not talking about that. That's why that umbrella exists, so that we're doing this a way that the Lord is walking us through this process. He's helping us know what we need to eat, what foods will work best for our body out of the myriad of choices. Listening, maybe he'll prompt you something that doesn't agree with accepted science of today. He's smarter than every scientist out there. Let him teach you what. Let him teach you the how. Bring him into those food experiences. Pray in those moments for the strength not to binge. I mean, you're heading into the kitchen with that drive, just pushing you to go get food. What would it be like to stop in that moment? Just offer a prayer and ask for help. To ask him to help you to honor this body that you've been given. So how to eat, when to stop when you're full, when to eat and when not to eat. By the clock? No. Am I hungry? Does my body need this right now? And then finally, the when. So maybe there will be some times I'm playing around with, I don't kind of eat after dinner and just letting my body rest. I don't need those snacks late at night, or whatever that looks like for you. These three foundational elements, I think, can begin to help us see what this needs to look like. And I'm so thankful that it can be different for all of us, that it can be adapted to our own personal needs, wants, desires, lifestyle, genetics, metabolism, digestive issues, mental issues. It can all be under his guidance so that we can find the path that's right for us. I hope this has been a blessing for you. I hope that with the Lord's help, you're going to find this place of freedom and joy where food is a gift. It's not a stressor. It's not guilt and shame. It's not complicated. It's not overwhelming. It's a gift, a beautiful gift where we're able to thank the Lord for the ability to feed our body in a way that makes him a better disciple of his. So good luck on your path. Join me in some of my other classes if you'd like to learn more. Thanks so much.